name's Andrew Warren from Cavendish Securities. We're brokers and advisors to Vietnam Holdings Limited, and I'm delighted to be joined today for 10 minutes with Craig Martin. But before I start, I'd just like to draw your attention to the important risk warnings. So Craig today is going to provide us with an overview of the fund, a reminder of why Vietnam is such an interesting investment proposition, and then a couple of worked examples in the portfolio that just bring that whole thing to life. So Craig, if I may, just to start, just give us an overview of Vietnam Holdings and how the company looks at them. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, Vietnam Holding tries to do simple things really well. And we're an award-winning fund, and we have demonstrated very strong outperformance over 1, 3, 5, and 10 years. Outperformance against the market in Vietnam, where we're exclusively invested, and also outperformance against our peers. We're a very actively managed fund. Our team are here on the ground in Vietnam, passionate about finding good companies and engaging with those companies. And we run a very high conviction portfolio, about 25 names, businesses that we know really, really well, and that have helped us drive tremendous gains and outperformance in our net asset value. Now, of course, that's not the only story. As a London-listed fund, there's a share price, and we're very pleased that the share price and the total return has also been very strong, which is why also we've been winning awards. And at the end of last year, at the AGM and the EGM for the fund, shareholders showed their support. They voted to continue the fund for another 5 years, but also voted in a very innovative annual redemption facility, which means that shareholders on an annual basis can sell some of their shares at net asset value. And that's had the positive effect of narrowing the discount to NAV. So Vietnam Holding has the narrowest of the 3 London-listed funds discounts to NAV. So the board works with us, and we try and make sure the story is well understood. And we're very transparent in our investing as well as in our reporting, and exclusively focused on the exciting market of Vietnam and providing a gateway, an opportunity for investors through a London Stock Exchange listed fund to get exposure to what we think is one of the great opportunities in Asia.
Well, that's a really good segue, if I may. If we just turn the slide, just remind our listeners why Vietnam is such an interesting investment opportunity.
Well, Vietnam's in a fantastic location. You can't choose your location. It happens to be in that location. It's at the gateway between North Asia and Southeast Asia. So it attracts lots of investments from Japan, Korea, as well as from a lot of imports come from China, and it trades a lot with China, but it trades with the rest of the world. It's a very open economy, about 200% of its GDP through its imports and exports. It's a large population, 100 million people, digitally savvy, young, hardworking, and really wanting to achieve more and starting to become wealthier. There's 2 very interesting points to notice here. One is the high level of GDP growth over the last 30 years at 6.5%. And the per capita GDP, now at 4,300, that's almost 5 times what it was 20 years ago. So the Vietnamese are starting to consume more, and that's a great opportunity for us. And the country's also rapidly urbanizing, but it's still got a long way to go. 39% urbanization rate is not far off where China was more than 23 years ago, and China doubled its urbanization in 20 years. So a lot of opportunity for Vietnam, but the takeaway is large country, large opportunity, a big domestic economy that's attractive and interesting, but also Vietnam is a source of export. So it's made in Vietnam, attracting record levels of foreign direct investment, and has been doing so for many, many years. So open economy, large domestic opportunity, and tremendously interesting investment opportunities.
Thank you. So let's just dive a fraction into the portfolio, perhaps a couple of examples just to bring that investment thesis to life for us.
So our portfolio is spread across what we see as the interesting theme. So that's the domestic consumer theme, that the per capita GDP story. It's the urbanization theme, that's the growth in the cities in Vietnam, and the overall industrialization and modernization of the economy. Well, obviously, in emerging markets, banks play a key part in that. They underpin the economy. So we've got a good selection of banks in our portfolio, which good value, relatively cheap, but growing well. Vietnam's also a digitalizing industrial economy. And our largest position, FPT, is a category champion. It's a bit like the best of a British Telecom without the pension liabilities, and the best of a Wipro or an Infosys or a Tata, these big kind of super export companies for software. And that's what we have in Vietnam in the shape of FPT. It's growing at 20 to 30% this year and has been doing so for a decade. So it's a tremendous business, tremendous growth prospects, serving international companies as well as domestic Vietnamese companies. And it's 15% of the fund. So it's a business we have very high conviction on. Another company in our portfolio, in our top 10, is a jewelry business, Phu Nguyen Jewelry. Now, jewelry is a very fragmented market in Vietnam, but as you can imagine, in Asia, when people get wealthier, they want to spend some money. And P&J, our jewelry business, has opened a number of stores, 380 stores in Vietnam, offering branded jewelry. And it owns more than 50% of the market share in the branded jewelry segment, which is growing rapidly. So it's a very nice business, it's very well managed, and they're very strong in terms of their investor reporting and transparency. So top of the portfolio, our largest position, FPT, that's a digital champion in Vietnam, and then P&J. These are two businesses we've had in our portfolio for many years. The return on equity is 20–25%. So there's good growth in their earnings, and they're still attractively priced. So we think these are two out of our portfolios that are ones to watch. Our portfolio is concentrated, so a total of 25 positions, but our top 10 is more than 60%. So we take that convicted approach to investing and find good names across the key segments.
Craig, that's really helpful. Thank you. Your contact details are there on the slide should anybody want any more information. But I would urge you to visit the website www.vietnamholding.com, where there's a lot more information on the people involved, the process behind the portfolio, and of course the performance over the exceptional performance over the last years. I'll thank you all for joining and close the call today. Thank you now.